My girlfriend told me to just get an Uber after my car accident while she enjoyed lunch with another guy. 3 weeks ago, I almost died. I was driving home from work when a truck came out of nowhere, swerving into my lane. My car spun across 2 lanes of traffic, the sound of crunching metal and breaking glass filling my ears as I slammed against the door. My shoulder felt like it was tearing apart. Blood was dripping into my eyes, and for one terrifying moment, I thought, this is it. I'm not walking away from this. But I survived, shaking, barely able to breathe, sitting on the side of the highway with my car completely destroyed. A police officer, Miller, arrived and helped me out, calling EMTs to patch me up. He looked me over and asked gently, "Do you have someone who can come get you?" Of course, I thought of Laura. We'd been together for 2 years. We lived together. She was supposed to be my partner, my person, the one I could depend on. I called, no answer. So I sent a text. "Babe, I've been in an accident. I'm hurt. My car's totaled. Please come pick me up." And then I waited. 10 minutes, 15, 20. Finally, she replied, "OMG, are you okay? I'm at lunch with Jacob. Can you just Uber? We already ordered. Let me know when you're safe." I stared at the message, blood still on my hands, sirens fading in the background. She was too busy having lunch with another man to come get me after I nearly died. The officer saw my expression, and when I showed him the text, his jaw tightened. And that's when something inside me shifted. I felt cold, so I turned to him and asked, "Don't you sometimes have to notify family in person when there's an accident?" He raised an eyebrow. "Sometimes. Next of kin, emergency contacts." "Why?" I gave him Laura's number, told him where she was, and said, "She's my emergency contact. Can you notify her?" In person. He looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly, because just minutes before, Laura had posted an Instagram story, smiling across a table from Jacob at a fancy restaurant. Wine glasses, perfect lighting, location tagged for everyone to see. It was almost too easy. Miller left, and I sat there, replaying the last 2 years of my relationship, realizing just how blind I had been. An hour later, he returned with a subtle smile. "Notification made. She'll be here soon." And she was. 45 minutes later, Laura pulled up, mascara running, eyes red, voice trembling. But I could tell immediately that her tears weren't for me. They were for herself. Later, I found out exactly what happened. Miller had walked into that restaurant in full uniform, badge shining, and announced in front of everyone, "Ma'am, I need to inform you that your boyfriend, Daniel, has been in an accident. He's injured and waiting to be picked up by his emergency contact. You." The restaurant had gone silent. Jacob froze, looking at her. "Wait, Daniel's hurt? Why didn't you say anything?" And in that moment, she admitted she already knew. She had ignored me. People gasped. Phones came out. Someone recognized her from work. She left the restaurant humiliated, the story spreading before she even made it to her car. When she picked me up, she was shaking, apologizing, promising to make it up to me. She cooked, cleaned, hovered over me as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. I knew she wasn't sorry that I was hurt. She was sorry that she'd been exposed. And then she said something that ended us for good. "Daniel, you didn't have to send a cop to embarrass me. That was cruel. That was it." She wasn't ashamed of leaving me stranded, bleeding on the highway. She was ashamed that people saw her do it. I moved out soon after. She begged, promised therapy, swore she'd cut Jacob off. But when I asked, if Jacob had been the one in that accident, would you have left lunch for him? Her silence told me everything I needed to know. A week later, she showed up at my new apartment with flowers, my favorite beer, and takeout. She cried, swore she'd changed, and then dropped her final card. "Daniel, I'm pregnant." I didn't believe her. I called my brother, recorded everything, and eventually got her to leave. The very next day, she started spreading rumors that I had abandoned her and our unborn child. But then, Jacob himself messaged me. "Daniel, I didn't know about the accident. I'm sorry. She isn't pregnant. Trust me, I know." And that was the final nail in the coffin. Laura never cried for me, never cared about me. She only cared about herself, her image, her reputation, her lies. And I learned something the hard way. When someone shows you where you really stand in their life, believe them. Laura showed me mine, and it was never me.
My daughter's teacher was secretly bullying her, so I set up a trap. For weeks, my 8-year-old came home crying, saying she hated school. She'd always loved it before, so I knew something was wrong. One day, she begged me not to make her go back. That's when she told me her teacher was making her eat lunch alone in the classroom while other kids played outside. Why? Because she was too slow at math. I was furious, but I needed proof. So I bought a small voice recorder and put it in her backpack. That afternoon, I listened to the recording and my blood ran cold. The teacher was awful. She'd mock my daughter in front of everyone, saying things like, "Maybe if you weren't so stupid, you'd have friends." My heart shattered hearing my baby cry. I took the recording straight to the principal. His face changed as he listened. He called the superintendent immediately. Within an hour, they had that teacher in his office. She tried denying everything until they played the tape. Then she broke down, admitting she'd been doing this to struggling students for years to motivate them. They fired her that day. She lost her teaching license too. But the best part? My daughter's new teacher discovered she wasn't slow at math at all. She had undiagnosed dyslexia. Last week, I watched her present a math problem to her whole class. She was smiling so bright, and when she finished, everyone cheered. That's the moment I knew we'd won.
Have you ever hated your own child? I never thought I could. Sarah was always different. While other kids played with dolls, she conducted experiments, pulling wings off butterflies, watching ants burn under magnifying glasses. The therapist called it conduct disorder. My husband Mark insisted she'd grow out of it. We tried everything. Medications, specialists, different schools, nothing worked. Her little brother Tommy was her opposite. Gentle, kind, the type of kid who'd spend his allowance on food for stray cats. He idolized Sarah despite everything. Mark was the only one who could really connect with Sarah. They'd spend hours in his study, him teaching her about his work as a pharmaceutical researcher. Then Mark got sick. Heart problems, the doctor said. Natural causes. Sarah was 13 when he died. She seemed to improve after that. Started volunteering at the animal shelter. Got better grades. Grief can catalyze emotional growth, her new therapist explained. I desperately wanted to believe she was healing. 2 years later, Tommy started getting sick. Violent stomach pains, weekly hospital visits. The doctors were baffled. He'd improve at the hospital, get worse at home. I caught him hiding food, claiming he wasn't hungry. Late one night, I heard Sarah in the kitchen. Through the crack in the door, I watched her crushing something into Tommy's cereal. My hands shook as I grabbed the container. Pills from Mark's old prescription bottles. That night, as the police led Sarah away, she looked at me with her father's eyes. "You know what's funny, Mom? Dad didn't die from heart problems. He caught me practicing with his medications. Said he was proud of my interest in chemistry. Then he started feeling sick too."
My daughter's teacher made her run laps with a broken ankle, and karma hit back hard. I knew something was wrong when my daughter limped off the school bus. Her face was red and streaked with tears, and she was clutching her backpack like it was keeping her upright. My heart dropped. "What happened, sweetie?" I asked, helping her to the car. "I fell during recess," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I was playing on the monkey bars and slipped. Ms. Thompson said I was faking it and made me do PE anyway. She told everyone I was just trying to get attention." My blood boiled. She couldn't even put weight on her foot, but her teacher forced her to run 4 laps around the track. When my daughter cried and begged to stop, the teacher told her to stop being dramatic. I drove straight to the ER. The x-rays showed what I already knew. Her ankle was broken in 2 places. The doctor was horrified when he heard what happened. The next morning, I marched into the principal's office with the medical report. But here's the crazy part. Ms. Thompson walked in while I was there, limping. Turns out she'd twisted her own ankle in the parking lot that morning. She looked at me, then at my daughter's x-rays on the desk, and her face went pale. The principal suspended her for a week without pay. But the real karma? She had to sit through all her classes with a throbbing ankle because she wouldn't want to be dramatic about it. Sometimes the universe delivers justice in the most perfect way.
How far will you go for your dog? I never thought I'd live in my car for 3 months, but when the landlord suddenly banned pets in our building, I couldn't bring myself to give up Max. He wasn't just any dog. Max was a Great Dane I'd rescued 6 years ago, found tied to a dumpster, just a skinny puppy with matted fur and sad eyes. The vet guessed someone abandoned him when they realized how massive he'd become. Now, 180 pounds, he was my gentle giant who'd gotten me through my father's funeral and my sister's cancer diagnosis. He knew when I needed him most, resting his huge head on my lap whenever I cried. Then came the letter under my door. New building management. No pets policy effective immediately. $2,500 fine for any units found with animals after 30 days. My heart stopped. Breaking my lease would cost everything I'd saved, and finding a place that would take a dog Max's size seemed impossible. Just get rid of him, my coworker suggested, like he was furniture I could leave on the curb. I stopped asking for advice after that. The night before the deadline, I made my choice. I loaded Max and whatever would fit into my 2008 Honda Civic. I left behind my TV, my bookshelf, and most of my clothes, but took his ridiculous oversized dog bed that barely fit in the trunk. That first night in the Walmart parking lot, watching him try to get comfortable in the backseat, I wondered if I'd lost my mind. By morning, with his drool on my shoulder and my legs cramped from sharing the reclined driver's seat, I knew I'd make the same choice again. Living in your car with a Great Dane isn't just inconvenient, it's nearly impossible. My coworkers thought I was staying with my cousin while apartment hunting. Nobody knew I was showering at the gym and eating peanut butter sandwiches for dinner. I'd drive to different spots each night so security wouldn't notice us. The summer heat meant I couldn't leave Max in the car while I worked. I called in sick so often I nearly lost my job. My savings disappeared as fast as my hope. Then came the moment that changed everything. A cop knocked on my window at 5 a.m. I froze, certain they'd take Max away. My heart pounded as I rolled down the window, Max's huge head peering over my shoulder. But instead, the officer said, "Ma'am, my partner and I noticed you've been sleeping here all week. Everything okay?" I broke down completely, told him everything while Max licked away my tears. The officer listened, then wrote down an address. My sister runs a small rescue. She has a cabin on the property where volunteers sometimes stay. It's not much, but it's better than your car. The cabin turned out to be basically a shed with electricity, but it had a real bed and space for Max to stretch out. The rescue owner, Jenna, didn't pity me. She just handed me a key and said, "Been there." In exchange for staying, I helped with the other dogs on weekends. To everyone's surprise, Max became the unofficial therapy dog for the traumatized rescues. Something about his calm presence soothed even the most anxious dogs. The staff started calling him the healer. For 3 months, I showered in the communal bathroom, saved every penny, and applied for better jobs during lunch breaks. I finally found a tiny house to rent on the outskirts of town. The commute is brutal, an hour each way, but the landlord has a mastiff himself and didn't even blink at Max's size. Yesterday, I officially moved out of the cabin. As I packed our few belongings, Jenna handed me an envelope. Inside was every dollar I'd paid her for utilities, along with a note. "Use this for a fence. Big boys need room to run." When I tried to refuse, she just said, "Pay it forward someday." My parents still think I'm crazy. "You lived in your car for a dog?" they ask, incredulous. But they don't understand that Max isn't just a pet. He's the family member who never abandoned me, who stayed when everyone else left. Would I do it all again? In a heartbeat. Because when you truly love something, the question isn't how far will you go? It's how could I not?